guys, this is going to be your Exponent Rules notes. The notes are listed above, and as you go through this video, go ahead and fill out exactly as I do. Now we're going to go through the whole notes, so this is going to be a really short week. You're going to watch this video, go and do the big ideas, and then take the test at the end of the week. Super simple. Alright, so let's get started. First, zero exponents. The rule is anything to the 0 power is always going to equal 1. Whether that is a letter or a number, anything to the 0 power is 1. So over here in the example section, you'll see I have 5 to the 0. 5 to the 0 is just 1. Same thing here, I've got g to the 0. G to the 0 is also just 1. Any letter, any number, 0 power is 1. Negative exponents. How this works is, we're going to start off with you have a negative exponent on a regular number or variable. So I'm going to use a again. If I have a to, say, the negative 1, again, that could be any negative number, a to the negative 1 is going to flip. So you get 1 over a. Now, what happens if that negative exponent is on the bottom? So say I have 1 over a to the negative 1. Once again, that just flips. So now it's going to be a to the 1 on top. So wherever that negative exponent is, whether it be on the numerator or the denominator, you're going to flip where it is and make that exponent positive. All right, let's try some examples. So here you see 2 to the negative 1. I'm going to flip where that is, so it's going to go from the top to the bottom. So I'm just going to put it over 1. It's going to be 2 to the first power, which is just 1/2. Now let's try a little bit trickier one. This one I'm now involving more than one letter. So here I got g squared f to the negative 3. That g squared is going to stay on top. And f to the negative 3 is going to go from the top to the bottom and change from negative 3 to positive 3. Fantastic. All right, let's try another one. Here's the product rule. What the product rule says is, hey, if I have two bases, so they're both a's, okay, and they're being multiplied, and let's say this has an exponent of 3, and this one has an exponent of 5. Because these have the same base, or big number, what we're going to do is we're going to take those exponents and we're going to add them. 3 plus 5. Obviously 3 plus 5 here is 8. So my final answer would be a to the 8. Let's try some more examples. Here I have z3 times z squared. Because my bases are the same, I'm going to keep my base and I'm going to add my exponents. 3 plus 2 is 5. Now you notice here I have negative exponents. Now what you could do is flip them and then use the quotient rule, which we're going to do here in a minute. But really and truly, all you have to do is just add them. So I'm going to keep my base. 8 minus 2 is 6. Now I'm going to give you a quick rundown of why this works. Like, why does this rule work, right? So say I have this z1. As an example, z to the third power is 1, 2, 3 z's times z squared, which is 1, 2 z's. If I were to count up all of my z's here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that is z to the 5th power. So that's how this works. All right, let's do another one. This is the quotient rule. All right, quotient rule, here we go. So I'm going to have a to the, I'm going to call this b power, over a, I'm going to call it the c power. You'll see why in a minute. So my final answer is going to be keep my base. Remember, they always have to be the same base. All these exponents have to be the same base, or that same big letter or number, okay? And I'm going to do my top minus my bottom. And obviously you'd simplify that, and there you go. So 3 to squared over 3 to the 6, I'm going to subtract 2 minus 6. Let's do this here. So that gives me 3 to the negative 4. And we learned from before that I have to do 1 over 3 to the positive 4. Here's another one, b to the 7 over b to the third. 7 minus 3 is b4. Now let's check out a quick side note of why this one works. So I'm going to do this, let's do the b3 and b6, or 3 to the squared and 3 to the 6th. There we go. So 3 squared is 3 times 3, and 3 to the 6th is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We know multiplication, we can cancel out from the top and the bottom. So those 3's would X out and give you 1. That gives you 4 on the bottom. And obviously we'll leave a 1 on the top. Cool, huh? All right, let's try another one. This is the power of a product rule. Now I'm going to give a huge disclaimer here. You can only use this when it is a product inside, meaning they are being multiplied. You're going to see in our next unit, things are not going to be multiplied and you cannot use this. This is only when the things inside are being multiplied. So, how this works. So say I have an A and a B inside. Say I got a 2 outside. Again, A and B can be anything, right? 2 can be anything. What I'm going to do is take this 2, and I'm going to quote unquote distribute it to everybody inside. So that gives me A squared and B squared. Let's check out some examples. So I'm going to take that 3 on the outside and quote unquote distribute it to those inside. So that'll give me J to the third times K to the third. Again, you can only do this when my things inside are being multiplied. Again, my things inside are being multiplied, so I'm going to distribute 2 squared G squared. Obviously, I can simplify 2 squared. That's 4G squared. Awesome. All right, let's do another one. Power rules. Okay, so power rule. What that means is say I have something to an exponent, and I'm going to take that something, I'm going to raise it to another exponent. So what I'm going to end up doing, so remember when we had two bases that were the same, we added our exponents. When we were dividing, we subtracted our exponents. Here I have a power to a power. I'm going to multiply my exponents. So that gives me A to the 8th. Let's try some examples. Let's see, put a star down here, we multiply exponents. All right. So here, 3 times 2, keep my base, multiply them, 6. Same thing here, keep my base, 5 times 4 is 20. Now I would show you how this kind of works out, but that's, oh, we could do it with the D. All right, let's do it with the D one. All right, so I have D to the third squared. That means I'm taking D to the third, and I'm multiplying that by itself twice. Here I've got things that are being multiplied, right? So I'm going to add my exponents. 3 plus 3 is 6. Same answer, just the longer way, the idea behind the rule here. All right, last one. Here we're having a power to a fraction. So just like we had a power to a product, right, outside our parentheses, if things are being divided inside our parentheses, solely divided, there is no addition or subtraction, we can do the same thing. So for example here, if I have A over B, and that's squared, I can take that 2 and quote unquote distribute it inside. So that gives me A squared over B squared. All right, let's try this one. So again, I'm going to take that 3 and distribute it. So that gives me 1 to the third power over 2 to the third power. 1 to the third power is just 1. 2 to the third power is 2 times 2, which is 4, times 2, which is 8, if it wants it simplified. Let's do another one here. P over 5 to the second power. take that 2 and distribute it, so it gives me p squared over 5 squared, which again I'm going to simplify to p squared over 25. All right, that is the end of today's notes. Now I do want to give you some tips and tricks. So if you want to turn the sheet over, some things that you may want to do as a helpful hint. Let's call this tips and tricks, even though there's really no tricks here. Okay, first one I would recommend is that you simplify inside. And we'll call that first. So for example, if you have something like a to the third b squared over a to the 5th power, right? That's an example of something you might see. What you want to do is you want to simplify inside first. So that means I'm going to use the quotient rule on these two. A3 over a is going to be a squared, b squared. And then I'm going to use my power to a power, or power to a product, right? So that's doot, doot. And I'm going to multiply them because it's a power to a power. So that gives me a to the 10th times b to the 10th. So I would simplify inside first before you start doing anything on the outside. All right, trick number or tip number 2. Besides simplifying first, I would also, if you can, combine like terms. So just like how we did those A's, same kind of idea. If you've got anything that you can multiply, if you can, anything like that, do those first. Also, that also talks about like if you've got negative numbers. Deal with those negative exponents first before you start moving things around, powers to powers, anything like that. All right. And the last thing I would recommend is read the directions. Okay, sometimes they're going to tell you to simplify. That means if you have 2 to the 5th power, it wants 2 to the 5th power as a number, not 2 to the 5th power. So for example, 2 to the 5th power is going to be 32. So it would want 32. Now you ask, how did you get 2 to the 5th power? 1, you could multiply 2 5 times. So you could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or on your calculator, or most calculators, you're going to see a button that looks like this. Typically, it's over by like the directional arrow pads, kind of above the division sign. That is what I call the caret button. Not sure what it's actually called. I call it the caret button. The caret button will give you an exponent. So if you say do 5 to the 3rd power, let me bring up my calculator here and I can show you. So here's my calculator. You'll see the caret button is right there. So what we're going to do, I'm going to clear this out. So I'm going to do 5 to the 3rd power, 5, caret. So you see how it went little up there. Then I'm going to do 3. Press equals. That gives me 125. All right, if you guys have any questions, please let me know. If something's not working on big ideas, you do have unlimited tries, so let me know if you need any more help with that. Have a great day, guys.